Hello class, this is Tyler Jenke here, coming to you with your next video discussion over the difference between liberty and freedom and kind of the definition in terms of Western civilization. And so to start, for me, kind of like the last discussion, I guess I was an ignorant American kind of that intertwined these two terms pretty seamlessly, like probably everybody else. And I think that's due, as I was doing more studying, just really how politicians kind of approach these two terms and their definitions. And so as I dug deeper, I found that there is a bit of a difference between the two. And so that's what I'm going to discuss with you guys. And so what I found most, and I have a few documents here I'm going to pull from. So what I found most is that freedom appears, out of the articles I read and some of the definitions, it appears to be, more internal, more individual. So we have freedom to do certain things. Like I have the freedom to have this discussion with you, that type of thing. Whereas liberty is more of like the state in which you are free within a certain society coming from a certain government. So freedom being internal and liberty appears to be a little bit more an external factor. And as I kind of approached that, had that in my mind, I began to look at some pretty important documents throughout our world history in terms of free government, things like that. And so the two that I came down to, which I found some interesting things on, was the Magna Carta and the English Bill of Rights. And so in the Magna Carta, the version that I had gotten from, I believe, the National Archives, freedom is mentioned twice, whereas the word liberty or liberties is actually mentioned 11 times, which makes sense because it's a government document kind of giving that idea of what liberty is, giving that to people. And so one of the things in the Magna Carta is that it states, to all free men of our kingdom we have also granted for us and our heirs forever all the liberties without written out below. Meaning that what's spelled out in the document is liberties that are given, so that state that you're living in. And then the next one that I found was from the English Bill of Rights from 1689, where in the English Bill of Rights, the version that I got translated, freedom is mentioned 3 times, whereas liberty is mentioned 10. So again, it's a document kind of stating those freedoms and how they, government giving that to the people. So one of the things it says in there on number 10 of the English Bill of Rights, an excessive bail hath been required of persons committed in criminal cases to allude to benefit of the laws made for the liberty of all the subjects. So again, document giving freedoms, providing freedoms, as opposed to the freedoms of like that internal. So it's providing the rights that you have. And so even there, I'm having a hard time keeping the idea of freedom and liberty from being too interwoven. And so as I dug further into this, I found a couple documents here, a couple cases that looked into this a little bit more. And so one of the first one I found was the Republican Critique of Democracy by Nadia Urbanati. And so it has one of the subsections in there, the concepts of liberty. And so it looks at that Western societies, 2 of which kind of look at the idea of liberty, from non-interference and non-denomination, and then the other side kind of being more negative, and the other one being the liberty of liberty as autonomy, as self-government, which is what we know. So again, liberty being, people kind of having that self-governing, but it's still a government providing those rights. It's still an external factor providing those rights to people. And then the other document that I found was actually from Moira M. Walsh, called Aristotle's Conception of Freedom. And so one of the things it says in there is that the 2 marks of democratic freedom, according to this passage, are A, living as one wishes. So again, very internal. And then B, having to share in ruling office equal to that of one's fellow citizens. So you being in the position that you're being equal to everybody else because of that position that you're in. And so again, these concepts were very difficult for me to kind of separate, but because the first time I've ever really had to think about freedom and liberty in this way. And so even in this video, I'm sure I messed up and kind of still intertwined them, and so I apologize for that. But as it comes down to, from what I read in the Magna Carta English Bill of Rights and from Miss Urbanati as well as Walsh, it appears that freedom is very individualistic. It's how we feel, what we do with our own freedoms, whereas liberty is in the state of being free within a society, often having rights granted by an external source or government. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Look forward to our discussion this week. Talk to you later.